Today on What Went Wrong, maybe you should invest in yourself before you ask someone else to. Hi, I'm Brett Mauser, and I've made some films, and I think I had one investor one time, and that was like for $250.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, appreciate that.
That's something that I could probably talk forever on. Is you'll run into people. Oh, I'd love to invest in your movie. Let me help you out. Here's a check, $250. Thanks. No, I don't want to sound ungrateful.
Right.
But at the same time, it doesn't help out that much.
Yeah.
You know, that $250 is, it can help feed and make things a little bit easier. But at the same time, it's sort of like.
To have someone who wanted to invest in your movie, they're looking to make money.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, independent films just aren't going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, we can have people like, I'll contribute money, or someone contribute money, and it will help feed, it'll help with gas, it'll help with stuff. But an investor, that's a different concept.
Yeah. Knowing where to put that money is an important thing too.
Right.
Because someone could come in, blam, here's $1 million, and you go and make $1 million movie. Who's going to watch it, even if it is the best movie, and even if you have some big names in it?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to know it exists.
Right.
So how do you reach the 350 million people in America?
Right.
To let them know that your movie's there. Advertising. And if you look at the Hollywood budgets, $40 million marketing budgets. And that's where a lot of the money goes.
Yeah.
Is getting, a big chunk of that change goes is to let people know that your movie exists.
Right.
So that's why even earlier on in my career, I always knew not to get investors because of that. Well, I have to build a reputation. I have to have people want to come and see the movie,
Right.
know who I am,
Right.
and before I can put that kind of money in there.
Yeah.
I think the most I've ever spent on a movie is probably between $7,000 and $10,000.
Yeah.
And this goes back, even back in '97, I think, there was a big chunk of change, and they were failures, but I wouldn't have put that much money, any more money than that in a film.
Right.
Because when you're putting money in a film, you have to expect to lose it.
Yeah.
And if you're an investor whose main goal is to grow that money, would you take that money and put it into an unknown filmmaker? Maybe they had some great short films. Maybe they had a feature or two that were really, good. Would you? Would you put money in that, or put money in the stock market,
Right.
which you're probably going to make between 7 and 12% annually on?
Right.
Pretty much, and not guaranteed, but it's your safest bet that's out there. And if you're an investor, you're not just going to look at a film and go, "Wow, this guy's really good. This is a great film. I have faith in you. I'm going to give you some money." You're going to research, and you're going to look at what independent films do and what the film industry is like, and you're going to make sure that all your I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and that you know what you're investing in.
Right.
So as soon as you start researching that and you see that 50,000 people submitted to Sundance Film Festival and only 40 got in, you're going to look at that and go, "No, I'm going to go invest in Dow."
Right. The point of the world is to make money. Whether it's right or it's wrong, the point that everyone has, the idea why everyone goes why everyone goes to work, why everyone does something, why everyone does anything they do, is to make money. Money to make the world go round. It's not love. It's not whatever else. It's money. Money is the single most important thing in people's minds, because without it, you die, basically. You have a harder life, or you have no life, or nothing happens. Hospitals don't work. Businesses don't work. Gas doesn't get pulled out of the ground. I mean, it's money, money, money. And for someone who has money, you got two different types. People who've been given money, or they've been in the stock market or the oil business or technology or something else, and they've made a lot of money. And those two kinds of people are going to treat their money differently. Someone who's always had it doesn't really understand the value of it. Someone who had to work for it appreciates it probably more than they should. And so someone who doesn't have any appreciation for money may be willing to blow a couple $100,000 on an independent film, okay? Because they're not going to make it back. But an actual investor, someone who is part of the movie making business or the money making business, isn't going to give you a red cent unless they're sure they're going to make good on their money. Unless they're trying to do some, charity work. I know if I had a ton of money to throw at something, I might do some charity work by contributing to independent film. I'm not there yet.
But again, of course, even if you had, say, $50,000 to blow, you're not going to blow $50,000.
Not typically.
You're going to give them, let's give this guy $1,500.
$1,500,
Let's give that guy
$1,000,
$20,
$10,000, $5,000, something.
And let them see what they can do with it.
If I'm an investor and I want to invest in something like an independent film, I'm going to, look around. Like you said, I'm going to check out because there's 5,000, 10,000, 2,000, however many, trying to get into these different film festivals, and like 30, 40, 10, 2, however many make it. I'm like, well, let's look at the top of the pyramid there. Let's not just, get Bob, who took a film class and thinks he knows what he's doing, because he doesn't. He sucks. But this guy over here has been doing this for a bunch of years, and he's got some good ideas, and he's got some good things, and I like the way he thinks. Like, let's take a look at him. And maybe I could give him $5,000, and he'll do something cool. And even if it doesn't make a lot of money, I may get my $5,000 back. And I've helped him out, and maybe he'll go further on, and then there could be a relationship there. I mean, those are the kind of things you're looking at. Otherwise, unless you're at the top of that ziggurat, you got nothing. You're not getting an investor, because an investor is not investing in you because you are not a good risk.
Right. And let's look at the history of independent films. One of the most successful independent films was Blair Witch Project.
Right.
And they sold it for $1 million.
Right.
Okay. And look at a lot of these other films. Some that were made for $1,000, some that were made for $50,000.
Right.
And they have these price tags of around that, about like $1 million. When they sell it to distributor. Oh, here's $1 million for your short film or your feature, your low budget feature film.
Right.
Now, as an investor, you're going to do the research and you're going to see that these movies, they usually sell for $1 million. So are you going to go put $2 million into a film? No, you're going to go, well, if this kid really knows what he's doing, I'll give you $5,000. And if you do something with it and Hollywood picks it up, they'll give you $1 million. That's a profit.
Yeah.
And okay, maybe $50,000. I'll throw you if it really looks like you might have something that'll make $1 million.
Right.
But you're not getting somebody to come over and throw $5 million
It's never going to
on your film.
You're not worth it.
Yeah.
If you were worth $5 million, you wouldn't be doing independent film.
Yeah. I do want to back up real quick, and the way you were talking about money, the world is run by money.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of liberals and a lot of people out there that are, that shouldn't be it. That shouldn't be, it should be based on love.
Sure. Whatever.
Unicorns should fly out of people's asses, but it's not going to happen.
Right.
But I want to, and even the religious people, well, money is the root of all evil. Well, it's
okay,
the love of money, but...
Money itself is not evil. Money is a piece of paper. Money is an idea.
Well, I want to build on what money is.
Right.
And once I think people understand what money is, a light bulb goes off in their heads, and they start appreciating it and understanding it a little bit more.
Right.
Money isn't this evil thing out there that causes greed and makes everybody want to. What is money at the root? It is a representation of your labor.
Yeah.
Back in the day when you had two farmers, I've got some, a farmer and a rancher. I've got some pigs. Well, I've got some apples. Well, I don't want apples right now, but I want your chicken. How do you?
Right.
You don't have anything that the person you want something from.
Money is the way I've always described it, a physical representation of value. It is the manifestation we have created that shows an amount of work. That you have a pig, or this guy has an apple. You have either worked to raise that pig, or you've worked to pick to plant the tree and grow the tree and pick those apples. And you've done an X amount of work. And for that, this apple or that pig or the meat from that pig, or just the pig itself, has a certain amount of value. Now, we no longer barter as I do back in the day, we use a representation of that work, which is called money.
Yeah, because if you've got, let's say you put all your time and effort into building a house.
Right.
And now you've taken $500 worth of wood and hammers and nails and made this structure that is now has, if you don't have money, it's valuable.
Yeah.
But let's say somebody who looks at this and goes, wow, I really want to buy that house from you. And then if you don't have money, then that person comes up, I'd like you to give me this house. Okay, well, what do you have to give me?
Right.
Well, I've got some chickens, I've got some turnips, I've got a couple pigs. Mm-hmm. I'm a vegetarian, or this, or I don't. Yeah. So that person's like, okay, well, I've got nothing to give you,
right.
So they're going to go away. But with cash, with money, with that representation of your labor and your work. Mm-hmm. Now you've got this hard thing that you can go and sell your chickens and sell your pigs to somebody who wants them. Now you've got this currency.
Right.
And now you can go to the guy with the house who's a vegetarian who has no desire for your chickens and pigs. Oh, that's cash. All right, I'll do that. Now the guy that you sold the chickens and pork to, he actually is a soap maker. And you're like, well, I haven't had a bath in a week. Now you can take that cash and go over and get the soap from the soap maker.
Yeah.
And that's why money makes the world go round and is important and shouldn't be looked at as this evil thing, because it is you. It is a representation of your work, whether it's your creativity, whether it's your just your labor. Mm-hmm. But that cash represents what you put into something.
The money itself is a physical object. It's like, not to start another tweet, but a gun. It is a physical object, or a car. It is a physical object, or a glass of alcohol. It is a physical object. They themselves are not imbued with any kind of emotion or anything else. They're just things. It's like a book or a phone or something else. A phone could be seen as evil because it takes you away from your family, so your family sees your phone as being evil. A gun can be seen by evil by, people who don't understand what they're for, or think that they're, just there to kill people, to not understand that it's there for protection,
but
or
they
for
can
getting.
Also, they can also save lives.
They can also
you can use the phone, call 911, or you can use the gun when 911 doesn't get here in time.
I've had to defend myself, not to get on the subject of guns, but I've had to defend myself 3 times, 3 separate instances with guns. Okay, not in the military, not as a contractor. As a civilian, walking along, minding my own goddamn business, I've had to pull 2 pistols and a rifle. Not at the same time, but 2 different times with a pistol and then once with a rifle to defend myself against someone who was going to do me harm. Okay? They themselves mean nothing. Okay? The gun itself is just an object. But when I pick it up and I'm able to use it to defend myself, it is exceptionally valuable to me. To someone else, it's the root of all evil. If I'm able to take a $5 bill, which to some people is nothing, but if I can use it to buy myself some food, or if I can use it to buy someone else something, or or to give it to someone who can then use it to do something else, give it to the Civil Air Patrol or to the Catholic charities, and they can do some good with it, then it is still a thing. But it's being used for good. But you can also, like I said, have your cell phone, which you're always on the phone, and so your family misses you, and you go away to work all the time, and so you're making lots of money for your family. So you're being a good provider. But if they never get to see you, then it's evil. It is nothing more than a physical representation of something. It's a thing. But anyone who's ever said money doesn't buy happiness apparently doesn't know where to shop or doesn't understand that money may not buy happiness, but the lack of money sure can bring a lot of hardship and difficulty. I'm doing pretty well now, but you remember me years and years ago.
You remember me, just 5 years ago.
5 years ago, scraping by. I was eating crackers for lunch because I didn't have any money. I was flying jet airplanes full of passengers, and I didn't have enough money to eat lunch. Okay? I'm eating crackers. I ate crackers for like a year. Basically I'd get the free breakfast at the hotel, eat crackers. Okay? I haven't had a lot of money. So when people talk about, oh, money doesn't buy happiness, money's this, money's evil. Money is very, very, very important for those who don't have it. Okay, for those that have it, it may not be worth enough. But either way, to understand that it itself is nothing more than a physical manifestation of what your labor is worth, or what you have done to earn that work to be able to take care of yourself. That's all it is. It's just a thing. Like everything else in the world, it's a thing.
Now, when you do have an investor, you have to understand it's not like somebody's just giving you $100,000. You have to start getting all this paperwork involved. You have to start figuring out how much do they own. In film, there's usually a point system. You'll say, okay, I'm gonna sell 30% of my film, and then you'll create 30 points, and you'll come up with a value of that point. Okay, $5,000 per point, and you go out and you try to sell these points.
Right.
Now you have to start understanding figuring out net versus gross, and when does the investor start getting their money back. If you go and you get somebody puts $100,000 in, and then your movie starts making money, you're not seeing any of that money until you paid the investor his $100,000 back. Then you start your split. It's not like, oh, hey, I made $1,000 on this screening, so the investor is going to get 30% of that, and I'm going to get 70.
Nope.
They get it all until you've made that $100,000.
And that is a lesson that is, the accountants make the money too. The accountants and the lawyers, that's where the money is. But yeah, it's one of those that, I mean, I wouldn't know that because I'm not a film student. But I doubt your typical film student has been to, school for an accounting degree, and they also wouldn't know that. That is a very, very important lesson, to learn that, to make them understand that you get an investor. Unfortunately, kids, until the investor gets his investment back, you don't get anything.
Yeah, and if you've never had a distribution contract, if you've never worked with distributors, then you don't know how Hollywood accounting works. Because if you don't get cash when you sell a movie to a distributor and you don't get cash up front, odds are you're not going to see anything.
Right.
Because of Hollywood accounting, they'll say, okay, well, you'll get 30% of net or 70% of net or whatever that percent of net is.
Right.
Well, you're never going to get out of gross. You're never going to get into net. Right. Because they're going to go, oh, we were able to sell 50,000 copies of it at $1 a piece, so we made $50,000. Well, okay, well, where's my cut of that? Well, there isn't any. But there was only 30. My movie was only cost. You only paid me $15,000, so that's your investment. And I said, well, no, we had to pay for marketing. And there's David Prowse, Darth Vader himself. Big controversy over Star Wars.
Yeah, and
he still never saw that percentage marker, because anytime they bought a ticket for George Lucas to go and fly and promote something in France, we're going to promote Star Wars. 30 years later, oh nope, that goes under the marketing budget for Star Wars, so that all that expenses. So they're going to just keep this lunch, that dinner. Oh, we bought some stickers to put on. We bought some bumper stickers for marketing. They're always going to have.
This is one of those places where you need to have a lawyer.
Yeah,
it's one of the things I've discovered. I've had a lawyer for several years now, and I've determined that it's worth my while to pay a lawyer just to keep them around. It is worth my while because it has paid dividends when it comes to my taxes, when it comes to disputes I've had with someone, even with companies I've worked with in the past. To have a lawyer there, because they will say whatever they can to keep you from whatever. And all of a sudden, when they get contacted by someone, so this is so-and-so and I represent so-and-so, we need to talk about whatever. All of a sudden, they become much more compliant. Because the threat of you doing something is a lot less than the fact you've already hired a lawyer. And it's one of those things where it's difficult to say, or difficult to see for someone who's just starting on film, or just like a law student, an 18, 19, 20-year-old. I don't know how old your students are, but I assume they're pretty young if you're teaching in a college. They're 18, 19, 20, 23, 25. Probably not 50 or 60.
I get some because I get a lot of there's a lot of veterans will come out.
Those are different. Yeah. Those we're a little different. I use my GI Bill to do that, but we're not new kids. We need more education. But
Still act like kids.
We still act like kids. That's true. We didn't develop a whole lot in the military. They kind of kept us pretty crazy. But it's one of those things that I've determined that most people don't know. And what you don't know can hurt you in the end, especially when it comes to contracts, when it comes to law, the way the film industries, companies themselves, they're out to make money. So, of course, they want to keep all the money they make, just like I want to keep all the money I make. And so I keep a lawyer. They keep their lawyers on staff. And when it comes out to do a contract, whenever I have any kind of contract for anything, I always say, here. And I have them go through and peruse it and look at it, and they mark this and do this, change this, that, and the other thing. And I'll send it back, and I say, I need to change this, that, and the other thing. And when that usually happens, usually the company, whoever I'm dealing with, is like, well, why do you need that? Because I do. And all of a sudden they realize, shit, this kid's got a lawyer. All right, well, we can't. Because if we do at this point, we either can't get a contract with me at all, or if you do, they know that when they violate it, that I'm going to catch it because I've got my lawyer, which I've done many times. I've sent it out to her, and she's like, yeah, that's not. And she'll contact them, and all of a sudden everything changes, and I've gotten a lot of my money back, or made sure I got the money I was supposed to have. But it's not easy to do for a 19, 20-year-old kid who doesn't have the money to get a lawyer. You know?
Yeah, that was one of the problems with our distribution contracts. They, just pay $500, have somebody look it over. And we got $500. I didn't even put $500 into the movie.
Right.
Where am I going to get that? So it was just like, do your best reading it and go, all right, here it is. But when you make a movie for $1,000, it's kind of okay. You're gonna,
whatever.
I lost $1,000, but it's going to be on Blockbuster shelves.
Yeah.
And that's you weigh that risk. Even on our third distribution contract, we knew we were going to get screwed.
Right.
We knew we were never going to see a dime, but we wanted that third movie in the trilogy out.
Right.
So it was that weighing of the balance. But and I'll warn people about that kind of stuff, but I don't bitch about it because we went in knowing that's what we were going to be doing. I warn people, but that's different from me just sitting around going, well, they screwed us over. We knew they were going to screw us over. We made that calculated risk that, okay, we want it out there. That's what's important to us. If we never see a dime from this, so be it.
Talking about the investors in general, they're going to have lawyers. And they're going to make sure they get their money back. And so you as a filmmaker needs to understand that you are dealing with someone who has a lot more money than you, who has a lot more capacity to give or not give money, to do the effort, to get their due diligence, to get what they get, to make sure they can get what they can get because they're out to make money. And just you as an independent filmmaker, as you move along in your career, as you get 5-10 years in, your movies are getting bigger and better and more whatever, you'll need to worry about it more. I'm not a professor, but one of the things I guess I would tell my film students is this is not something you need to worry about now as far as it, but you need to understand that if you're going to continue down this path, this is something you're going to have to deal with if you want to keep doing this kind of work.
I don't recommend going out and looking for investors. If one lands in your lap, inquire. Get an attorney, get somebody that can help you out and see if that's something that you really want to do.
Right.
But if you're not going to invest in yourself, why would you let somebody else invest in you? I would never want to put, if I brought an investor on board, I would never want them to put any more money in than I am. If I'm putting $5,000 into something, I feel comfortable with them putting $5,000 in because we're both risking the same amount. I might even be looking at it a little bit more. Well, I put my time and my energy because I'm not getting paid out of my own investment. Right. Which is another interesting question: is when you're getting an investor, do you include your salary into it? These are all questions you have to ask and be prepared for.
Things I've talked about in the past was how much my time is worth. One of the reasons that I pay someone to do my lawn, my time is worth more than me working on my lawn because I don't like it. And so you have to determine how much is your labor worth. How much are you worth as a filmmaker? And you need to estimate it. I mean, you're not George Lucas, guys. You're not. And so you're not going to be worth $300, $400, $500, $1 million, however much an hour. Okay, you're going to be worth 15, 20, maybe $10 an hour. I mean, you're not going to be worth that much. But give yourself some kind of value. It's one of the things I see with people who have businesses is they never think to pay themselves for their labor. They need to, because it's not free. You are not free. I mean, maybe. But most of the time, the labor you put into something isn't. The representation of money means this is worth your labor. And so, ergo, you need to pay yourself some kind of money. Put some kind of intrinsic value on your work. That is something that will need to be taken into account in the future.
Yeah.
Might as well do it now.
Yeah. There is, and that's something that my students never want to hear, is that there isn't this silver bullet that's going to answer. How do I get investors? I don't have an answer for it.
Yeah.
There is no straight answer.
Be
for
really
it.
freaking good.
Yeah. And that's the first thing you got to do. You got to prove yourself
Yeah.
first.